Um, yeah. Yeah. So I hit 49K yesterday or something, and I guess that maybe prompted me to like kind of chill out and play some other shit. Um, I don't really have like any goals for like the amount of numbers on that weapon. It's just um, like I know it'll go up over time. I'm not worried at all about the numbers because I know like I'll just keep playing, just keep enjoying it. So yeah, it's. I think I was playing all sorts of shit yesterday. I think I played some scout, NG, some heavy even, which is my least played class. So it's like a truly rare moment. Is me playing heavy. I don't find that class particularly enjoyable. Um, I don't know, it's just not very interesting to me. Very unstationary class and hit scan. It's like the two things I don't like in this game. Just hit scan and not moving around. Go figure. I mean, like, shotguns are alright, but even shotgun heavy I just really don't like. But I think that's mostly because, like, I'm used to, if I shotgun, I'm used to running either pyro or NG, right? Which are, like, pretty movable, you know? Like, your move speed is decent when you're playing as the NG class. So, like, I don't know, shotgun heavy is alright, but I prefer just eating the funny bread, getting a bunch of extra health, and just being like a turret. Like, I think that's my. Like, if I'm playing heavy, like, I'm doubling down on the fact that I'm, like, essentially a fat turret that isn't gonna move around. Like, I should probably just, like, start maining the brass beast, to be honest, because it's, like, it encapsulates, like, how I perceive the heavy playstyle. But I have, like, an Australian minigun that I dropped at some point, so, like, um, you know. I gotta use that, because it's, like, shiny. It's shiny. I'm just like a kind of a stock minigun purist. I've always been when it comes to heavy. I never really liked the tomislav. I think it's just like a blatantly overpowered unlock. Like it's just an upgrade over stock. Um, like in 99% of cases, you know. So I don't know. I saw some people begging for like a heavy update. Um, you know, shoutouts to the pyro versus heavy like thing that happened like 10,000 years ago. You know, back in like the Stone Age. Does anyone remember? We didn't have electricity back then. Um, and yeah, I mean, it kind of sparked me to like think about the ways in which like some items could maybe be rebalanced. Like TF2 is an incredibly balanced game to the point where like people cope about sniper now because it's like there's very little other things that are bothersome at all. And people really like making problems where there are none, right? Like if nothing is going on, then people will just make up a problem to be worried about. I could name dozens of examples. I won't. But this is just like a human thing. So yeah, that's why people cope about sniper a lot. But I definitely think like in general, like there are some items that could be adjusted. Or I think for instance like the bushwhacker is like a really ridiculous item. There's like no reason not to run it. Because like the Girardi's already really good, like but the bushwhacker is just ridiculous. Shout out to that Woolen clip where he's playing like plat UGC sniper on upward, and he's just walking into the combo on last, and he just kills all of them with the bushwhacker. Shoutouts to that. Like, that's definitely not super ridiculous and like not what you want. Um, so that's definitely a kind of like a thing. Um, like the bushwhack. I also think like, yeah, the tomislav, and then there's some other weapons, like obviously some things are really useless, right? They could be adjusted, like in the sense that like the gas passer got, like now it can crit with the neon annihilator. It's still a bad weapon, right? Like still, like the gas passer and the neon annihilator are still bad weapons, but they have something now, right? Like I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, I want the sun on a stick to be different. But I actually think the sun on a stick is fine where it's at, because it used to be completely useless, right? Like nowadays it actually has a use. In case you don't remember, because who does remember, it now gives you fire damage resistance while you're holding it. Instead of just being like less damage and criticals versus burning players, which, I mean, if you ask me, that already was like, you could play medieval with your friends, and your friends would go volcano fragment and you would go sun on a stick, and it's really fun, right? Or like you could go volcano fragment and extinguisher as well. It's also really fun. But no, now it gives you the fire resistance. It actually does something, right? So I don't think that's something that needs changing. But there's definitely some things where it's like, oh, the tomislav is just blatantly like a better stock, and it basically makes all the other ones useless, except for maybe the brass beast if you're Odin. You know, if you're like the goat at being a brass beast heavy, like that brass beast is actually kind of sick. It's really slept on, but yeah, it's kind of sick. But there's more stuff. There's more stuff. Like I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say like the Liberty launcher get used like tweaking or whatever. I don't know. Like I think the airstrike and the Liberty launcher are like equally trash. And I think like that's fine. Yeah, not every weapon needs to be meta. No, you're completely right. Yeah. Like that's, I love this. Okay, so let me preface this with a couple of different things, right? So for one, I play a shit ton of airstrike, like you might be able to tell. Why do I play airstrike? So I think it's really fun because of the movement and stuff, right? But I'm also someone who likes things that are like needlessly difficult. I'm not gonna sit here and like be like, oh, I'm a fucking huge masochist or whatever, but I played Kaizo when I was like 12 because I thought it was a funny challenge. So the airstrike to me is just like Soldier but more difficult. And so yesterday I was talking about this a little bit before, that yesterday I wasn't playing Soldier. I think I must have played TF2 for like 5 hours yesterday, and I played Black Box, and I played Direct Hit, and I played Heavy, and I played Engineer, and I played Hit Scan Sniper, and I played like, you know, I played all this stuff that I don't usually play. Like I played Force of Nature Scout, and it was really fun. So, but then when I played Black Box and when I played Direct Hit, it just all felt so easy. Like, you know, like you direct someone with the Black Box, you do 110 damage, and you're charging like half your banner. Like that just felt so broken to me because I'm so used to running like this shitty unlock. Like the fact that this weapon is bad is fun for me, right? And so I think that's fine to some extent because this weapon isn't completely useless. It has its own thing going for it. Alternatively, like, I mean, there's some items in this game, like this one is a little bit on the weak side, but it's still fun to use. I used this yesterday, dude. I had a blast using this. Like this 17 kills. This is like one pub or something. This is maybe 1 or 2 pubs, right? Like 1 or 2 rounds of Megaton, I think it was. I had so much fun playing this like shitty weapon, just because like it's a shitty weapon. It's hard to use. It's fun to use. Like, I don't know. Like there's definitely some items. Like this item used to be blatantly broken, and now it gives you mark for death. So it's really hard to use, but it's still something, right? Thank you for the follow. It's MR. Gives you much more fun off meta. Yeah, no, you're completely right in that. So like there's I can name lots of little things that you could tweak, right? Like I would love if the volcano fragment gave you afterburn on pyros, because that's a mechanic we have now, right? We have the gas passer, so we have a way to make pyros take afterburn damage. So why not give it to the literal embodiment of a volcano? Because in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense that like this plastic rubber suit is able to resist the scorching heat of a volcano, right? And so and this might seem like oh, but you know, like this weapon is trash, right? Nobody uses this weapon. I ironically use this weapon in Highlander because the pyro melee slot is useless 99% of the time. So I run these two in Highlander just because I think it's fun. You know, like you don't need anything from the melee slot. Yeah, most people will run this thing or they'll run this thing just in case you need it in some spot. But I've realized like you don't need it, so I'll run these two. I'll run this if there's water, except there's like no water match in Highlander, but I would run it. So if you gave this thing the ability to afterburn pyros, it wouldn't make it good. It wouldn't make it meta. But what it would do is now, like, there's like, I don't know, there's probably like 100 CBT combo pyro mains like around the world that would suddenly use this weapon and like combo it with like the flare gun, for instance, right? Or they would combo it with the Dragon's Fury, because this is a primary that gets crit damage off of fire, right? So just a small tweak like that, it's not going to make the weapon meta, but it suddenly, like, would just enable extra things, right? So I think there's a lot of small things like that you can do. Like, a lot of small, like, obviously this thing sucks, but it's fun to use. I don't know if you've ever like ran around with this thing. On a map like Banana Bay, it's actually insanely fun to use. Yeah, it sucks. Like, I think if they gave it, like, minus 15% damage penalty, it would be a little bit more fun to use. I think right now it's like really, really bad, but it is still fun to use, you know, because it's bad. Like, that makes it more fun. Like, obviously I would want to get rid of random crits from this thing because it's a weapon with range. The same with the whip. Like, the whip and and this thing, they both have extra range. Melee weapons with extra range shouldn't have random crits, because if I'm taking a melee fight with you and you have extra range, then you win the fight 100% of the time anyway because you have extra range, right? You shouldn't need to rely on the crit to win the melee fight. Other than that, I think, like, random crits are kind of shit unless it's melee weapons, because, like, you know, if you're fighting someone, right, and someone pulls out a melee weapon, you never have to get hit by that. There's not, like, you know, unless you're, like, being air blasted into it or you're cornered, right? Like, you're never forced to take the melee hit. But something like a random crit rocket, you just can't really do much about that sometimes. Or like a heavy getting lasers, like, that's not fun, right? So personally, I'm of the opinion that only melee should be able to random crit, and then the ones with extra range, like this one and the whip, they should not have random crits. They just should not, because you have extra range. If you need to rely on a random crit when you have extra range, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I think similarly, like, this thing is too good, and, like, the rest are all kind of weak. Like, so figure something out. Either make this worse, change it. I actually think this would be really fun as a, like, this would be fun as a backburner. Like, you reduce the damage, like, do, like, minus 20% damage, minus 20% slower firing speed. Maybe like, you keep the silent rev up, and you give it, like, backstab mini crits, you know, and you get rid of the faster spin up, get rid of the accuracy. You just keep the silent killer, and you give it backstab crits. Bam! Now you have ninja heavy. What? You know, like, this is a completely new playstyle. The Tomislav is now no longer the best item, because it's worse than, you know, all these other ones in a vanilla situation. But you can sit in a corner, and it's really funny, right? So suddenly you're getting rid of, like, a needlessly, blatantly broken item, and you're adding a completely new playstyle into the game. So that's, like, my optimal fix for the heavy class, is to just rework the Tomislav completely, and suddenly all of these they'll stand out again. This thing wins the heavy v heavy every time. Like, if you're close to another heavy, you win. It doesn't matter if it's on the brass beast or not, because you have the fire damage. So it has a niche. It's a really bad niche, but it's a niche, you know? Like, maybe, okay, maybe the ammo drain is a little bit much, you know? Maybe it should consume only an additional 3 ammo or an additional 2 ammo. I don't know. I haven't tested around with those numbers. But that's definitely, like, the biggest thing holding this thing back. The fact that it, like, you can only use it if you're on a dispenser. What's up, Baguette? So, you know, that's just something. Like, you know, there's, like, a lot of things. Like, obviously this thing sucks, and, like, and I like where this is at. I like where this, I don't think these two need to be touched at all. I think these are really good in a really good spot. But then this thing, for instance, have you ever seen anyone use either of, I saw someone use this one yesterday on Megaton with the sandwich. He didn't have fun. I don't think he got a single frag. Like, he was just getting bullied. So these two are shit. But, like, outside of that, like, you know, the game is insanely balanced, right? Like, they're, okay, yeah, the Wrangler is stupid, and the Short Circuit is just, like, stupid, like, as a design, but, like, I guess it's fine. I don't know, like, even these two, I wouldn't change these, because they do what Engineer does. I don't know, I don't think it's too problematic. I think Engineer's a really weak class. Outside, yeah, this thing is completely useless, but the thing is, like, this is an insanely disruptive weapon, so you wouldn't want it to be good, right? And I think that's what someone was saying, like, not every weapon needs to be meta, and I think, like, when the Thompson was meta, so when the Thompson was meta, it was just really unfun to play Spy or Medic, and I don't think you want to create an environment where less people want to play Medic, because people already don't want to play Medic. Like, it's already not fun to play a class that relies completely on your teammates in a game that is, in most instances, this game is a 12v12 clusterfuck, and you're not in a Discord call, you're not coordinating pushes and blah blah blah, you're just running around. So like, this weapon being meta is really cancer in that context. So it's fine that it sucks, because you'll still see people use it just to troll. Like, that's fine. I don't know, like, there's obviously, like, this thing needs to go. This thing needs to just, like, I wouldn't say it needs to straight up be deleted, but something needs to be changed about it. turn it into mini crits, maybe get rid of the sapper thing or whatever. Like, you know, this is obviously like a blatantly broken unlock. That should be different. Like, the name of here, the name I gave it is completely ironic. You can obviously tell, like, the post-nerf ambi player, I never touched this weapon before the nerf because I already thought it was blatantly broken, and so I didn't want to use it because I just feel guilty. I felt guilty if I were to use this before Jungle Inferno. But then this thing, I started using after Jungle Inferno, sort of like to mock the fact that, like, they nerfed this thing being able to do 102, but somehow this thing being able to do 102 across the map is fine. Like, it's just, I don't know, like the description as well. It's very obvious, and I'm like rubbing it in, right? But outside of, like, what's that? I've just went through all the classes, and I talked about, what, 6 or 7 unlocks in a game that has how many? Like 400 unlocks or something, right? Like, that's why I'm saying, like, TF2 is in an insanely balanced state. Yeah, it rewards you for doing stuff that you would already be doing, and so that isn't inherently bad, except none of the other revolvers do that. That is a thing that the Spy's knives do, right? The Your Eternal Reward gives you a new disguise, and it's silent killing. The Big Earner gives you a speed boost. The kunai gives you health. Like, that's something a knife is supposed to do. The revolvers aren't supposed to reward you for playing the game at a basic level. They're supposed to be your last resort option. Like, oh shit, your stab failed? Oh, I'll just gun down the medic, you know, because I'm standing right next to him. My revolver does 55 damage per shot, or 61 if you have a disguise, or whatever it is, like 63 maybe, or maybe even 102 if you're good at the game and you're standing right next to him, right? Like, the revolvers are there as like a, like, or this thing that just makes your cloak movement more consistent. Like, they're there to round out the quest. They're not there to reward you for doing what you're already doing, right? Like, similarly, the Enforcer is an incredibly niche item, but it's really good, like, for what it does. So it should stay the same. Like, I've heard people say, like, oh, we need the old Enforcer back, or like, oh, the Enforcer is completely useless now. But I think if you're of the opinion that the Enforcer is completely useless in the current year, then I'm going to write that down to a skill issue, because this thing is, by all means and by all, like, stretches of the imagination, for me anyway, this is what a perfect TF2 item looks like. It's good. It's like, it's literally better than stock if you use it correctly, but if you're just using it as stock, then it's worse. And that's, I think, what, like, everything should be like, right? Like, this thing is worse than stock if you're using it like stock, but if you actually bother axe punching people with it, it's a really good item. Like, that's how it all should be, right? Like, if you use this like a shotgun, yeah, it's not gonna work. This is, you know, this is a combo item, or like maybe your range poke, like the kind of range poke that this thing doesn't do. I mean, I'm not gonna touch this thing. I'm not gonna talk about this, okay? This is like, this is too easy of a target. And okay, in a similar addendum, the only Demo Man weapon that I do not like, outside of the fact that charge turning is really stupid now with the solo like config, like that should be removed from the game, obviously. But this thing, this whole game has like this thing where, oh, if someone shoots you, you take damage, you get to react to that. Someone shoots me with a rocket, I get to react to it. I get to crouch jump, and now I'm gone, right? That's the game. This weapon actively punishes you for being experienced with the game. If you try to crouch jump surface, you get double dunked every time, which I think is garbage design. Like, it punishes you for doing the thing that you're supposed to do in basically every other situation in the game. In a similar vein, this thing as well, like, you cannot surf this out. If you surf this, you're getting crit juggled. Like, you're taking like 120 damage or something over with the afterburn and stuff, right? Like, it's completely ridiculous. And people often cope about the flog, but I don't think the flog is a problematic item. I think the flog is kind of interesting. It's kind of funny. I think Air Blast is way too good for this to ever be an overpowered weapon. The one thing I'll say about the flog is that I think they should get rid of the ability to build from slot 2 items. If you want to run the sharpened volcano fragment and build flog that way, that's fine, because that's really difficult to do. I tried to do that as a challenge. I think I must have played 40 hours in a row trying to charge a flog with only the afterburn from this weapon, and it's so hard. I think I got it once, and it's because there was just like 4 snipers, and I could just like punch the sniper and let him burn out, and then punch him again and let it, like, it was like that was like the perfect situation. And even then, like, I don't even remember if I got it or not. Like, I think I got really close to it, and I think I still died. So, but yeah, no, but I think if you, because the slot 2 spamming is so free, like the average person, it's called no skill, because the average person who runs this will obviously run like the scorch shot, right? And they'll just shoot into a choke point. Like, it takes no skill. There's no risk leveraging there. But on its own, this thing, you know, if you want to charge it, you need to do some risk reward. Like, you need to play pyro correctly. You need to position yourself in ways where you can get fire damage done and not die, which is the thing that takes skill about pyro, is your positioning and your timing. People often cope about W plus M1 and how it takes no skill, but people like that don't understand the fact that pyro isn't a class that is really about mechanical skill. Sure, it can be if you're flare punching and det reflect jumping and blah blah blah, but the idea of pyro is a class that is grounded in positioning. You position yourself next to your medic so he doesn't die. You position yourself next to the sentry gun so it doesn't get spammed out or sapped. You know, you position yourself next to your sniper so that the spy isn't even gonna think about going towards him because it's just not something he wants to do. This thing, however, if you were able to charge it with your like flare guns, then it takes away that whole aspect of, oh, I need to pick my position carefully and make sure that I don't die. And that I think is stupid. That is but on its own, the fact that it can generate crits and blah blah blah, that's totally fine. Like, that's just the way the weapon works. Like, you don't have air blast, for Christ's sake. Like, air blast is like one of the strongest mechanics in the game because it's CC, and that also plays into why I think this thing is fucking stupid. Because this is CC given to what is already the strongest class in the game. The demo man doesn't need CC. Like, at least with this score shot, and that's why I'm not really touching that's why I'm not really saying like, oh, I should delete the score shot. Because at the end of the day, pyro already gets CC. Yeah, this is long range CC and it's kind of stupid, and I honestly preferred the old score shot because it was just funny to equip it on nucleus and spam it at people who are trying to cross the bridge so that they go into the pit, right? Like, that was just kind of fun to do on maps with pits. Now it's just like insufferable weapon. But that's, you know, like, pyro already has CC, so it makes sense. But like, for demo man, why does the demo man need CC in the form of unsurfable knockback with increased knockback? And it's just really like, this weapon, it's fun to use, don't get me wrong. It aids the play against, and it doesn't make any sense when you're looking at the general you know, the general picture. Damn, I already started like a 20-minute rant now, haven't I? Damn, is this just another we might just clip this chat, clip it and ship it. It's another video. This is gonna be like my thoughts on balancing. Clip it and ship it, baby. We're gonna make it's gonna be a highlight video again. Is this an airstrike map? Yeah, it's an airstrike map. So this is Jump Lotus.